My name is Roberto Montoya. I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've been in Colorado for 20 years now, so I've now been in Colorado longer than I was in New Mexico. But I was raised in the barrios of Albuquerque, went to school in the public schools in the Albuquerque public school system, graduated from West Mesa High School in 1995, and moved to Grand Junction, Colorado for undergraduate work. And that was an interesting experience for me, going from a school that was 92% Latino to a college that was 92% white. And that experience for me was not only shocking, but it also prepared me for the spaces that I was going to be in throughout the rest of my career. When I finished my undergraduate work, I took a job with as a sales and marketing rep with Hershey Food Company. So I was selling chocolate, which is not a hard sell. I mean, you don't sell chocolate, you just place chocolate and people take it. And because I spoke Spanish, I moved up in the company fairly quickly and started doing some diversity work for Hershey. But unfortunately, they closed our regional office in Denver and I got laid off. And it was interesting because at an early age, I had a high salary and so struggled finding work because I came right out of undergraduate into a fairly successful job, moved up quickly. And so I kind of, flailed around in the market for a few years after taking severance with Hershey. But then I picked up with Red Robin, the restaurant company, working in their corporate offices here in Greenwood Village, and did a variety of different work for them. Started in marketing, moved quickly up into diversity recruiting, then did diversity work, large project work for them. And it was an interesting time for me because that was the first time where we really started doing true diversity work. Because working in a restaurant company, half of the employees are people of color working in kitchens. And how do you connect a front of the house staff that's mostly white with a kitchen staff that's mostly Latino? And then finding ways to bridge those gaps so people can work together in very powerful ways. Unfortunately, in 2008, I got laid off when the market crashed and was at that quintessential crossroads in your life. What do you want to do? Do I want to go back into the private sector? And my aunt is a law professor at the University of New Mexico, and she had always been pushing me towards going to higher ed. And she said, mijo, which is like son, you've always gravitated towards training positions. I think you're a natural teacher. You should go back to school. And so I followed her advice and went and got my master's in ethnic studies at Regis University here in Colorado. And doing that work and working at Regis, I realized that I had a knack for publishing, for writing. I kind of really honed my writing skills and decided to pursue a PhD. And immediately after finishing my master's work, went to begin my doctoral work at the University of Colorado, Denver, working with Dr. Cheryl Matias, focusing on race, diversity, equity, and power, and have been teaching classes and publishing a lot in those areas of really trying to understand the dynamics of race, diversity, culture, and how those operate not only in schools, but in society writ large. And in doing that work also, I took a job with the City and County of Denver doing diversity work, diversity and engagement work here out at the airport, and really helping the airport, which is really a lot of people's first experience of Denver in terms of being a place where equity, diversity, and difference are celebrated so that folks say, you know what? We only stopped in Denver, but it was such a beautiful experience that I just felt like everyone's voices mattered. And to me, that's very meaningful work because it's that viral diversity work where the work you're doing, in fact, impacts a lot of other people, and then they go out and impact and tell other people about that work. And so I'm very happy and proud of the work that I'm doing here and excited to continue to do that work. When I think of REACH and the beautiful acronym, respecting ethnic and cultural heritage, I can't help but think of my own upbringing and the fact that during my schooling experience, I really didn't have an understanding of my ethnic and cultural heritage. I had to actually leave New Mexico to learn about New Mexico. Because when I went to college, I took a Chicano history class and really started learning about the role of my ethnic and cultural heritage in the Southwest and in my own life. And I think the work that REACH does around working with educators and teachers to have this as a part of their curriculum is so important. And for me, as a former educator, I think it's really important for me to infuse this work into my workplace as well. I want folks who work here who have been historically marginalized to know that their ethnic and cultural history is valued, especially even in spaces where there's not a lot of folks who look like them. I know for me, I'm a proud Chicano, and that I don't try and suppress that aspect of my identity. I used to, for the longest time, I went by Robert Montoya because I was renamed in the 3rd grade by a monolingual teacher who didn't want to say Roberto. And so I went literally 26 years of my life going by Robert, and I didn't reclaim my name until 6 years ago. And we know the power of names. That was the name my mother gave to me. That was a family name. And because I had teachers who didn't understand my ethnic and cultural heritage, thought that simply changing my name to Robert for ease didn't understand the lasting effects, identity effects that it had on me. And so for us, even here in the work that we do here, names are very important because they're a window into our historical understandings of family and heritage. And so for us, the work that we do here is really helping people understand the nuance and the complexity of our cultural and ethnic our heritage, and to make sure that we're celebrating them here in the workplace. And so that's part of the work that I do as the manager of diversity engagement here at the airport. I think of the work that Reach is doing around STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics is crucial because not only do we want young people, especially young people who live their lives on the margin, to see themselves, pursuing STEAM careers, but it's also, having that understanding of those areas in the workplace, because we work with engineers, we work with scientists, and it's not just doing that work, but also understanding and appreciating the work that other folks are doing. For me, I have always loved the vastness of the universe. I'm not an astronomer, I'm not a scientist, but for me, understanding those areas makes me a more well-rounded type of employer, an employee. Because to me, when you have an appreciation for those very technical types of skills, what you can do is then interact and relate with other people in a much more nuanced, beautifully complex way. And so I think for teachers to infuse STEAM into their curriculum, what it does is not only plants a seed for hopefully students to see themselves pursuing those types of careers, but also for students like myself who never went into STEAM as a field, but still have a love for those fields and for those studies, and continue to kind of seek knowledge around science, technology, engineering, especially the arts and mathematics. I think those are things I know for students sometimes have a hard time understanding how they're going to use those the rest of their life. But it's not just necessarily using them, but appreciating them as well, I think is some of the most crucial work that we do when we infuse STEAM into our work.